Welcome back to Smitty's Learning Room. Today we continue to look at the principles of training, more specifically having a look at variety. So when we have a look at the syllabus, variety comes out of the how does training affect performance focused question and the syllabus dot point principles of training. And we've already had a look at some of them, but now we're having a look at variety. We'll also have a look at in this video how variety can be applied to both aerobic and resistance training. So when we look at our principles of training, there are 6 principles of training: progressive overload, specificity and reversibility, which we've already had a look at in the previous videos, variety, which we'll have a look at in this video, training thresholds, and warm-up cool down. So when we have a look at the principles of training variety, we start to have a look at, well, how can we apply variety to training to try and improve in performance? So we know that an increase of variation of training routines and training types can enhance and maintain motivation, interest, and allow for performance enhancements for athletes. So using a variation of different types of physical activities can assist in achieving desired goals and can be particularly valuable for athletes as a means of maintaining motivation and generating enthusiasm for their sport. Now, obviously the variety needs to be balanced and needs to be specific or needs to maintain specificity to ensure performance improvements. So while a lot of athletes will include cross-training in their diets to allow for variety, so for example, a runner will include some weights training or resistance training in their routines, they may avoid things like cycling or swimming because that's not actually specific to the muscle and movements that they are required to do for running. They may do some swimming to decrease the pressure of the joints but maintain aerobic capacity. However, as is stated, it's important that specificity must be maintained to the sport to ensure that skills and muscle groups are specific to that sport that is being trained. The reason why we need to maintain this specificity is to ensure that the quality of training and the specific gains made from regular training are not diminished. So now we'll have a look at the concept of variety and how does applying variety affect aerobic training and resistance training. So we'll start by having a look at how we can apply variety to aerobic training. So we know that there's various types of aerobic training. So we've got fartlek, interval, and continuous training. So obviously by applying a variety of those types of training to a training routine, the athlete will maintain motivation and interest in their sport. Another way to apply variety to aerobic training is to circuit aerobics, aerobic games and activities, different training environments, and different training partners. So you can see here that there's lots of different ways that athletes and coaches provide variety in aerobic training. Now moving across to resistance training, this is a little bit different because it's a little bit more specific obviously. So we look at the concepts of doing lots of variety of different resistance training. So for example, bodyweight resistance, machines or free weights, plyometrics. We look at adding variety to the types of weight training, or the types of muscle training that we're going to do in relation to contractions, so isotonic, isometric and isokinetic contractions. And coaches and athletes will obviously vary the type and order of exercises that happens in resistance training. So for example, they won't do the same resistance training program every single week. They'll do something different all throughout the week. They'll mix up those resistance training programs to allow for specific muscles to be worked on and also to allow them to recover as well. So a reminder that variety is just one principle of training and there are 6 principles of training. So it's important that you go back to Smitty's Learning Room on YouTube and make sure you watch the other 5 videos on the principles of training.